Hey, Lucas, and welcome to Abstract Essay, where ideas take shape, thoughts find head, and every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest. He's the CEO of Next Level University, top 100 podcaster, no other than Mr. Alan Lazaros. Welcome to Abstract Essay, Mr. Alan, and can you please introduce more about yourself that I missed?
Yes, Daniel, first of all, thank you for having me. I always start with gratitude because 10 years ago when I first started my personal development company, Alan Lazaros LLC, what you'll never learn in school but desperately need to know, I found personal development 10 years ago and went all in on it. And it was crickets, so thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. How to build the most profitable and impactful business. Can you tell us about that?
Okay, how to build the most profitable and impactful business. I have a framework that I take my clients through. So right now I have 24 clients. One of them is 4 times a week. I have a few 3 times a week, 2 times a week, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. 24 different individuals, all different countries, all different backgrounds. I've been coaching for 10 years, mentoring for 10 years, coaching for 8, which basically means I started getting paid. But they all want to build their own brands and their own businesses in their own right. Anywhere from a 16-year-old who wants to start a YouTube channel and is rocking and rolling all the way to someone who's in her 60s, who is in New Zealand and is already a multimillionaire. So that said, working with all these different walks of life, what you find to build a profitable and impactful business, the first thing is clarity. Most people do not have clarity on who they are, what they want to achieve, how to achieve it. And so I have this little framework that I take people through. I actually did this earlier today. Okay. So the first part of the framework is a triangle. And in the center of that triangle is your one word. Mine is potential. I'm going to use me as an example, but I want anyone out there watching or listening to think about themselves. So potential is my one word in the center, my number one core value. So I help people reach their own unique potential. That's my main word, potential. Then the triangle is your 3 obsessions or your 3 passions. I think a lot of people like passion better than obsession. So I help people reach their potential through these 3 passions: fitness, personal development, and business. Right now I'm talking about business. Then there's another, so picture that triangle, then draw an upside down triangle over it. These are the 3 vehicles in which you deploy these subjects. Okay, so you have your one word, which is potential, 3 subjects, fitness, personal development, and business, and then you have your 3 vehicles. The 3 vehicles for me are coaching, training, and podcasting. Coaching is 1-to-1, training is 1-to-several, podcasting is 1-to-scale. So I can give you, and then you draw a circle around this whole thing, and everything within that circle is an absolute hell yes. Everything outside that circle is a hell no. And that's a lot of clarity. So if you do this little exercise, you'll have more clarity on who you are and what you're here for than 99.9% of people. So let me give you my one sentence that sums me up and what I'm trying to achieve in the world, my greatest level of contribution, my greatest potential, all that stuff. And then I want you thinking about yours. Okay, so picture the first triangle with potential in the middle. Boom, boom, boom. Here we go. So I, Alan Lazaros, am here to reach my own unique potential and help others do the same in fitness, personal development, and business through the vehicles of coaching, training, and podcasting. That's my entire company. So how do you build a brand and a business? What you do is you get absolute clarity on who you are and what you help people with and who you help and how you help them. And then you basically start saying no, eliminating, automating, delegating, and procrastinating everything outside of that lane. So there's something called a meaningful specific and a wandering generality. There's a speaker called Zig Ziglar back in the probably mid 1900s. And he said you can be a wandering generality or a meaningful specific. A meaningful specific is what I just described. Someone who knows exactly who they are, exactly who they help, and exactly how they do it, and what makes them unique and what they're suited for in the world. Someone who's a wandering generality is like me in the past when I didn't know. I had high school friends and I had college friends and I had corporate friends, and I was wandering around, stumbling upon. I wasn't living to my true self, to my true potential. And I think a lot of people, unfortunately, are doing that. So the first step to building a successful business is getting absolutely clear. And I often say this: Tesla should not sell energy drinks and Red Bull should not sell cars. Apple should not sell energy drinks. Apple sells phones, AirPods, iPod, iPhone. There's a synchronicity to it. There's an alignment to it. And I think a lot of us are trying to be successful by chasing shiny objects, and we don't really stay true to our core. And I hold up this to represent your core essence. And my job with my clients is to help them find their core essence and then build a business around that rather than trying to go out and chase shiny objects.
Beautifully articulated, Mr. Allen. Very well said and empowering too. What's the biggest misconception about creating a business that makes money while making a difference?
The biggest misconception is time perspective. Most people think that you can build a business that's very successful in a very short amount of time. Usually, if you are able to do that, it's usually not aligned with your essence. So if you picture a Venn diagram, 3 circles. One of the circles is what you are uniquely suited for, what you are uniquely gifted at, your strengths. One of them is what you're passionate about, what you love, even when it's hard, what's meaningful work for you. And then the other circle, the most important circle, is what the economy actually pays for. It's very difficult to integrate those 3. Most of the time, the work that the economy pays the most for is usually the work that is not meaningful. Not always. Some people really do like accounting. Accounting pays very well. Accountants do very well, statistically speaking. CPAs do very well. Certified financial planners, CFPs do very well. But a lot of times it's very boring work. So a lot of times the least meaningful work is oftentimes what the economy pays most for, because most people are paying to eliminate, automate, or delegate that. So for example, I have housekeepers that get paid very, very well. They do awesome. They do a very great job. They get paid a lot, okay? Now, and again, compared to other housekeepers. But my point is that some people like cleaning house. They like housekeeping. Some people really don't. Okay, so that's not meaningful work for me. So what I do is I delegate that to our housekeepers. They get paid. That feeds their families. And then I'm doing my meaningful work of coaching, training, and podcasting. So what you want to do is you want to find out what's the meaningful work that you do that the economy actually pays for. And that's the biggest misconception, to go back to your original question, is people think they're going to start a business based on their passion, and they don't connect it to anything anyone's actually willing to pay for. Or they chase money at the expense of fulfillment and meaning, which means they are doing something that pays very well, but is not aligned with their true essence, like I mentioned in the beginning.
Mr. Allen, let's talk about the strategy and differentiation. What is your framework for identifying profitable business opportunities that also create real impact?
Well, again, it all comes down to the person. It's the entrepreneur. It's the individual. So your individual strengths. A lot of people right now talking about AI. There's a lot of big industries. So I'll give you an example. So I have a client. Her name's Christina, and she has a young son named Jojo. And I'm helping her with her career. We do career dev together. And I said, I'll get you a job within 12 weeks. And she's applied to 130 jobs. She's gotten responses from probably like 30 of them. She's done probably 10 interviews. She's probably going to get 3 job offers, and she's going to choose 1 job. That's kind of 100, 30, 10, 3, 1 is very statistically sound in most industries. But she was saying, I've been working with my son lately, and he's very into video games. He wants to do game design. Back when I was in college, there was something called IMGD. It's one of the first. So WPI, Worcester Polytechnic Institute in Massachusetts. It's kind of like a mini MIT. They had a IMGD department, and this was back in 2007, 2008, 2009. And that's when most universities, most schools didn't have game designing departments back then. So this was fairly new. And she said, Alan, do you think that I should encourage this? He loves video games. He loves the idea of going into being a game creator. He wants to create his own video games. And I had her research on ChatGPT. I said, yeah, go to ChatGPT or AI, whatever, Grok, Google, say, can you please give me a graph of the growth of the video game industry since 1990? And the graph is up and to the right. It's wild. It's a lot of growth, okay? So when I was a kid, we had GoldenEye on N64, and internet gaming was not even really a thing outside the computer. Then Halo 1, Halo 2, all kinds of stuff. Xbox, Microsoft, Dreamcast, boom, boom, boom. The point is it's a big industry. It's a growing industry. There's a lot of opportunity. So I said, okay, well, what are the sub skills that he needs to start learning now? The sub skills would be storytelling, character development, the art side, the computer programming side, game design. So you have to merge what you know is growing with what you are strong at. Now, I don't know JoJo enough to know whether or not he's really better at the art side or the science side. What I will say is there's an art side and a science side to every industry. So Lady Gaga is an artist, but she has a business development manager. She has people who are better on the business side, the science side. I always say you need an engineer in your corner. So if you can be an artist and a scientist simultaneously, that's very, very unique. Usually there's a creative who's more artsy, and usually there's an engineer who's more numbers and metrics and mathematical thinking. And if you can merge those two, that's Steve Jobs would be a good example of that. So what everyone has to do, and I always say this, I say don't sell horses after the car comes out. Now, obviously, if you love horses and it's a niche market, and yes, it's people get mad. I'm not trying to say anything against horses. That's not my point. The point that I'm making is you have to make sure the industry that you're in is actually growing and not dying. At all industries, all people, all things are either growing or dying. It's the law of entropy. When energy is not injected in, it dies. All things will fall into chaos. Imagine a house that no one takes care of. It's going to eventually rot. Jumanji, the movie, has a house that was not taken care of for a long time, and it was rotting out. And so you have to make sure the industry you choose and the business opportunity you choose is aligned with your strengths. And not only are your strengths being developed, but the industry is growing as well. Because if you're in a dying industry, I always joke, I say, how much would Michael Jordan get paid to play basketball 200 years ago? And the answer is $0. There was no NBA. No one cared about basketball. And so it really depends on the times you're born into. It depends what the economy pays for. And most importantly, it depends what you're passionate about, what's meaningful work for you, and what you're actually good at. And so for me, I'm not naturally strong in the gym, so I should not try to be a strong man. But yet I was naturally gifted in mathematics and engineering, so I went into that. And I think that you have to understand yourself, and that's where self-awareness plays a big piece.
So, Mr. Allen, how do you build systems that maintain your mission as the business scales?
Systems thinking is this idea that you can design a process in advance that creates sustainable, consistent outcomes. So a recipe is a good example of this. So if you want to make chocolate cake, you get a recipe, aka a system. You have certain ingredients, certain amount of time, boom, 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 and then you iterate upon that. So when you first start, you're just going to have to follow the recipe and hope it comes out okay, and it's probably going to come out like crap. And then eventually you run the same recipe for so many years that you innovate it. Okay, instead of 3 eggs, I'm going to do 4. Okay, did that get better or worse? So there's systems thinking. I have a digital asset that I send to people. It's essentially a rectangle. In the upper left part of the rectangle, it's inputs. The inputs are what you say, think, do, feel, and believe. You don't have control over the global economy. You don't have control over who's president. You don't have control over where you were born or who your parents are. But you do have full control over what you say, think, do, feel, and believe, assuming you live in a free country. What you say, think, do, feel, and believe are the inputs. Then the outputs are results that you get. So on the upper left is inputs, what you say, think, do, feel, and believe. Then it's outputs, which is the results you get. And then there's a feedback loop. You measure. So the bottom right of the rectangle is measure, and then you adjust. So input, output, measure, adjust. Input, output, measure, adjust. Input, output, measure, adjust. That is what I'm doing 24/7, 365 in every craft. Even explaining this, I'm trying to figure out what I say, is it effective for the audience? And then I'm going to measure that, get feedback, and see if it works. Now, I've done this enough times to where I know that this will land, but it's not going to land perfectly. All I know is I'm going to keep iterating and keep iterating and keep iterating and keep improving. And that's what's called an optimal stopping problem, where are you speaking too much or too little? Are you working too hard or not enough? Are you working harder or smarter? This is where everything is Goldilocks. Do the right thing at the right time, in the right way, for the right reasons, with the right people, in the right amount. And people say, well, do the right thing. Well, that's a math equation. The right thing is actually the optimal thing based on a goal, based on context, based on circumstances. So if you want chocolate cake, there's a certain recipe. If you want, I don't know, bun cake, that's a different recipe. If you want strawberry cake, that's a different recipe. And the same is true for building a business. It's a certain series of recipes. And if you don't think in systems, habits, metrics, priorities, it's going to be very hard for you to create sustainable outcomes. Most people are wandering around, stumbling upon results, having no idea how they got them. And then it's a very scarce way to live, because if you don't know how you got to where you are, it's going to be very hard to get to where you want to go. So to me, I look at the last 36 years, I'm Alan version 3.6. And I think, okay, well, where do I want to be when I'm Alan 4.0? Where do I want to be when I'm Alan 5.0? Where do I want to be when I'm Alan 6.0? And you can reverse engineer your goals and dreams and the outcomes that you want. The problem is most things we want in life, like health, wealth, and love, are actually a byproduct of a system no one can see. So health is a byproduct of great health habits. Wealth is a byproduct of great wealth habits. Love is a byproduct of great relationship habits. And so those are the three things we're focused on at Next Level University: is health, wealth, and love. That's what I help my clients with: healthy, wealthy, and in love. If I was in front of 1,000 people, I said, who here wants to be healthier, wealthier, and more in love? Every hand would go up. But if I said, who wants to exercise every day? Who wants to invest more money and spend less? And who wants to do more date nights with their wife or husband? Not all hands would go up. And you can't have one without the other. It's an equation, and equations have both sides.
Mr. Allen, as a CEO of Next Level University, as well as a 100 podcaster, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
Short-term goals, so I break goals down into decade plus, and then so it's seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, quarters, years, decades. And so I reverse engineer from the decade. So everyone has a dream statement. To build the most positively impactful personal development company in history is my dream statement. It's an infinite game. You keep getting closer and closer and closer, but it's a mountain that gets higher as you climb it. And then I have quarterly goals. So my top 3 quarterly goals right now, so I calculated this. So if you grow your company by 7% per quarter every 90 days, you actually grow it more than 30% year over year. And if you grow the company 30% year over year, you double your company every 3 years. Actually, less than that. You double if you crunch the numbers on this, it'll make sense. So my main focus for this quarter, we have 44 days left, is to grow the company by 7%. And that means I have to break it down. Okay, so what are the top 3 departments? So we have 18-person team. We have 113 podcasters and business owners that we work with. We have, I think it's 18 departments now. It's plus or minus. And we have a charity. But I have to think, okay, what are the departments that produce the most revenue? Okay, it's group coaching, one-on-one business coaching, and then Next Level Podcast Solutions. We produce 64 podcasts. Okay, if I want to break those down, okay, who is growing NLPS? Kevin. Okay, who's growing business coaching? Me. Okay, who's growing group coaching? Amy. Okay, I need to coach myself, Kevin, and Amy. Okay, now what is bringing leads? So there's a sales system that I have. It's called the Next Level Sales System, and it's really simple. It's 3 steps. There's a lot of sub-steps, but I'll give you the high version. Every company has, over here, they have outbound compelling value. So this podcast episode is an example of outbound compelling value. Then you have the second part, which is generate sincere interest. So outbound compelling value, inbound warm leads. Okay, so part 1, phase 1, outbound compelling value. Put valuable content on the internet that attracts your target demographic, that helps them achieve their goals and dreams. That's outbound compelling value. Phase 2, inbound warm leads. These are people who reach out to you that want more help. They want more of what you do. They want more systems or structure or whatever it is that you do. And then there's, after inbound warm leads, there's field and convert. So it's like being a baseball player in the outfield, and there's a bunch of balls coming at you. You have to field and then throw it to home, field and then throw it to third base. It's kind of like, so I got an email yesterday about a potential website opportunity. We have something called Next Level Web Solutions, and we do websites. I had to send it to the right department. So I had to pick up the ball, email them back, and then send it to third base. Third base would be our web person. So outbound compelling value, inbound warm leads, field and convert. Outbound compelling value, inbound warm leads, field and convert. All businesses are built on systems. And once you know those systems and those frameworks, it's a matter of execution. And execution is a matter of self-discipline. And this is why it's so hard to help people grow companies, because a lot of people come to me and they want to be billionaires and they don't want to work.
Yes.
And they've never looked it up. There's only, 3,600 billionaires on planet Earth right now. There's 58 million millionaires. And of the 3,600 millionaires, at least 2/3 of them are trust fund and or generational wealth. And there's a book called The Self-Made Billionaire Effect of people who didn't start wealthy. They started out from the bottom and built wealth. And it's very important to understand that the science of achievement doesn't care about your feelings. The science of achievement doesn't care that you're hungry or tired or hungover. The science of achievement doesn't care. The science of achievement is a science. It doesn't care about your feelings or how you feel or your willpower or that you're drained or tired. If you want to achieve certain results, you're going to have to put in certain inputs. And I think that's probably the hardest part of my job is keeping people running the system. I can design the system for you and I can help iterate and improve it. But if you don't run the system, there's nothing we can do. You're never going to get results if you don't run the system.
Good luck to your goals, Mr. Allen, and looking forward for more success. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
Number one is no one's coming to save you. My birth father died when I was 2, when he was 28 in a car in 1991. My stepfather left when I was 14. And we went from sort of boats and ski trips in the 90s and early 2000s to I get free lunch at school now because our income is so low. My mom trades in her BMW for a little Honda Civic. We don't have cable. We weren't going to starve, but I went from I hope I get into college to even if I do get in, I don't think I can go because the college I went to was $50,000 a year. Fortunately, I got a lot of financial aid and scholarships, and I worked my way to straight A's in high school. But what I would say is no one's coming to save you. And if it's going to be, it's up to you. And so take responsibility in advance for your own bigger, better, brighter future and stop leaving it in the hands of other people. You can't control a lot of things, I know, but you can control what you say, think, do, feel, and believe. And you can control how you react to what other people say, think, do, feel, and believe. And so if you want to maximize your probability of statistical success in this world, you're going to have to get better every single day. And that is not my opinion. That is a mathematical, scientific fact. So take responsibility right now for your own future, and the whole world will get better as a byproduct.
Definitely. And thank you for that advice, Mr. Allen. And to wrap up our discussion for today, looking at the most successful impact businesses, what's one thing they all did right in the first 3 years?
They stayed true to the vision, but were adaptable along the way. They stayed true to the vision, but they were adaptable and willing to pivot along the way. So the outcome that they're trying to get to, the vision that they had for the world, for the company, didn't change, but the way they go about achieving it, they were willing to pivot and change and adapt. And I think that that's very powerful.
Powerful indeed, Mr. Allen Lazaros, 100 podcaster, top 100 podcaster, as well as the CEO of Next Level University. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So can you please invite our listeners to support your business, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Okay, so if you are out there and you have a sincere desire to reach your full potential in health, wealth, and love, you're going to love me, you're going to love Kev, my business partner, you're going to love the NLU team, you're going to love the NLU community, It's next level for a reason. If you want to reach the next level, you're going to need humility and work ethic and all this good stuff. If you are that person, nextleveluniverse.com, spelled just like it sounds, Next Level University podcast. The website has all kinds of good stuff on it. He's got it up here right now live. And if you want big rewards for minimal effort, we are not for you. Okay, we believe in striving and not arriving. We believe in the next level, not the current one. We believe in trajectory more than current position. So if you care more about trajectory than current position, then time is on your side. And if you are not entitled and willing to work, you're going to love NLU. So please reach out.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Alan Lazaros, because if you support him, for sure, more and more and more empowering business to come, more and more empowering advocacy to come. So, Mr. Alan, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
More to come, people. See you soon.